Hi, it's Milano and Alana, and this is Bare Naked Moms.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Today we're talking about raising kids in a world where it can feel like we have to do a whole lot to help them get ahead. We all know about tutors for school and the SATs, consultants to navigate the college admissions process, private coaches or trainers to find the next level in sports. But get this. Many families are now turning to consultants to help their kids get into sororities. At some universities, the reality is that thousands of young women are vying for just a few spots at each house. So parents and sometimes the students themselves are hiring so-called rush coaches to help their daughters get an edge.
And we were so lucky to be able to talk to one of these coaches, Leslie Cunningham, who is the founder of Sorority Prep, which was very,
She's very sought after.
Very sought after, and is exactly what she's doing. She's like prepping these young girls for the, I guess, all aspects of this process, right?
Yeah.
Like
probably more layers than people realize.
Yeah, the logistics of registration and attendance and who to talk to and what you need to actually physically do. But also just the emotional and mental preparation that's required for this intense, what can be at so many of these places, as we learn, an incredibly intense feat.
Yeah. She's based in Dallas. She's the mother of 4. She has clients from all over the country who call her their secret weapon.
It was a great conversation. I went into it, with no negative, vibes, or I don't know, expectations, but I thought it was just super substantial and substantive and thoughtful. And I was wildly impressed by her. And also just like the reminder of why sororities and Greek life in general is kind of important and valuable for so many people, and why it's so sought after. So she's great. Obviously, we're great. We hope you love this conversation with Leslie Cunningham, founder of Sorority Prep.
We're so excited to talk to you.
This is going to be just so many questions.
Thank you so much for your time. If you're up for it, I would love for you to be kind of our guide through a world that I admittedly know very little about. Of course, I read up on things to talk to you today, but I went to a college without a Greek system. And I think that there are parents out there who may be listening, who maybe are huge fans of, they were in a sorority, they were in a fraternity. Maybe it's even a generational thing for them. They're a huge fan of the experience. And then there are parents who may know very little about it and may only have heard kind of the bad stuff, the news reports about kids forced binge drinking in basements, that kind of thing. So I'd love for you to talk us through why you think being part of Greek life can be a great part of a college experience.
Yeah, I think, you do have the good and the bad, like anything. I think if you're a college student nowadays, I think you have to go in with a really open mind. But I think Greek life can really offer so much. And unfortunately, it does kind of get a bad rap, which is part of the reason why I do what I do, is to help students and parents really see that there is so much more to it than just the social aspect. So I think one of the great reasons for joining a sorority or fraternity is that you really get the academic support. And I think for a parent, that can be a really great thing to hear. On most college campuses, Greeks overall have a higher GPA than the average student. So not some.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that is interesting. You mentioned support. Are you saying that Greek the houses have like internal academic support?
Yeah.
Or it's like you're okay.
So it just kind of depends on the sorority or the fraternity. So some of them could have connections with the university in terms of tutors. They could have connections with like a TA for their specific organization to have, specific study or time. Most new members, so if you're a new member in the organization, you're required to do study hours at like the library. So let's say every Tuesday and Thursday, you have to go and do 2 hours of study time. So, there's built-in accountability. If you're a freshman and you're a nursing major, sometimes it's kind of nice to have people that are ahead of you in that major to be able to tell you like, hey, this is the track that kind of works for this major. So just kind of be on the lookout for this type of thing, or, hey, this was a really, great internship. You should check this out. So just kind of being able to open up some opportunities for students from that perspective for each other. I definitely think from an academic standpoint, you get that extra support system that you wouldn't if you're just a general student on campus.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's like an automatic community.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
There's like an automatic like home base with people who automatically share something with you.
Yeah.
right?
And anytime you can find a mini community within the larger community, it's so helpful
And beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in some ways, too, I think that it doesn't get celebrated enough that the social scene in the Greek world can be closer to kind of what I would describe as, in my nerdy way, as like good old fashioned fun, as opposed to what I had a great college experience too, but I was in like Irish bars in like the neighborhood where my college was.
Which was Georgetown, so
Yeah.
DC. Yeah.
And when I went to visit, my boyfriend at a college with a Greek system, it was like there were all these cute theme parties and it was cuter, for lack of a better word, than what I was experiencing.
Or like more age appropriate.
Yeah. More age appropriate.
Sure.
More
Well,
adolescent.
and I think too, the nice part
Collegiate.
about being in college, that's part of why you transition from high school into college, is to grow into an adult. And so one thing that I think a lot of parents don't realize too is in most of these environments, there is some level of adult kind of supervision, quote unquote. There are advisors. So like myself, I am a graduated collegiate woman. I'm an alum now of my sorority, and I serve as a volunteer to a campus. And so I oversee things that these women are doing, and I'm kind of chiming in and helping them to sort of guide them and lead them in specific aspects of what they're doing. And so I do think, if they have questions either personally or professionally about things that they want to do, I can also be a resource. And so I do think from a professional standpoint, again, that's where they also kind of have a benefit that they're getting from the alums that are part of an organization, is they have a network now that they can tap into to be able to say, hey, I'm an accounting major. I need to find, an accounting internship. Are there alums that are in a big four? Can I find somebody that could, help me out with this? And so they have resources that can sort of help them to do that.
So I think now we understand kind of what the special sauce is, the magic of sorority life and Greek life. You are someone who coaches people on the process of courtship, right? Like the courtship of finding the right sorority, finding the right match, finding your place. And I guess I'm wondering sort of, I want to know about the services you offer, obviously, but I also want to know how it is you came to be an expert on this, how it is you came to choose this as your like vocation and career. Tell us, rewind a little bit.
Well, it kind of started organically, honestly. I didn't set out to do this officially.
Well, lucky you, because these people, I did the numbers. People are making like $1 million doing this.
Yeah, it is. It's wild.
You're like, confirmed.
Yeah. It really started out of just a friend of a friend asking for my advice. And I guess I became an expert because I do have this knowledge. I was traveling all over the country, helping college campuses, specifically sororities, through the recruitment process. So my job was to go onto a college campus and work with a specific sorority and help them to basically get better at recruitment. So I would kind of look at their process and kind of understand what they were doing and figure out how do they obtain more members. And so obtaining all of this knowledge and not really knowing how to really serve the purpose of what I could do with it. And a friend of a friend just kind of asked, hey, I have a daughter who's going to be going through recruitment. Could you help guide her and just help her through it? And I said, yeah, I just have this idea about maybe doing this as a business. Could I sort of pitch this idea to you? And she was like, sure. So I worked with her and her mom and got her through the process. And then afterwards I said, would you do this? Like, would you use me as a coach? And she was like, yeah, I would. You were fantastic. It was so helpful. There was so much I didn't know. There were so many moving parts. You know, my daughter felt less stressed. It was just, there were so many things that I just didn't realize. And pretty soon I realized, okay, there are enough people out there that, like you said, have either not been Greek and don't know what it looks like, or have been Greek and the process has changed so dramatically. And there's so many moving parts nowadays on so many campuses, and it literally changes year to year. So if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know when you start this.
You mentioned all the moving parts, and it's also just so much more competitive to get these spots these days, right? Can you talk us through why that's true? What's going on?
Yeah, I just think there is a lot more exposure to the process. I think there's a lot more interest in what sorority recruitment is. And I think the sororities themselves are doing a great job of promoting why you want to be a part of this. I think college campuses see the benefit of having Greek life be a part of the college experience. And so, when you have the TikToks that are going viral, the girls understand, wow, I want that and I want to be a part of that. And so it is a membership organization. And so you have to be invited into that. And I think that is part of the competitiveness, is because not everyone can get an invitation. And that's the hard part of it, is you essentially are trying out to be a part of something, and there's a level of rejection built in there.
But that's always been the case with sororities.
Absolutely.
So how is it like that much more intense now? How did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get to this madness of, the numbers of like this many spots and, 100 times more applicants than whatever the spots are available? How did we get to this circus?
I think, and I think there's a little bit of some misconception about it, little bit. So
let's get there.
Yeah, there isn't always a, it's not equal parts. So you're going to have some women who just obviously don't get a bid. That's just how the system is set up. And so unfortunately, there's going to be, as you move through the process, there's going to be women who fall out of that. And that's just how recruitment has always been. I wish there was a perfect process, but there's not. But I think there is a heightened level of exposure because of social media and because of, like I said, more involvement from the mom side or the parent side. And so you hear about it a lot more. When you have a student who does not get what she wants, or you have a woman who does not get into a sorority, I think you hear about it more often than probably 10, 15 years ago, because it was like, okay, I didn't get in, I'm going to move on. Now it's like, well, I didn't get in, and they're going to have, a lot of reasons as to why that was.
I mean, this is just occurring to me, but just like the whole nature of the parenting world.
I was just thinking that like this is and yet another function of the parenting movement, and like whatever iteration.
Right. It's like, oh, I can solve for this.
I can solve for this, or I'm projecting my own stuff onto this process and like gonna, like this is so important really to me, just like anything that we've talked about on this show, youth sports. And
Yeah.
this is
Who's driving the train?
Who's driving the train. Yeah. And what is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of this to each actor?
Yeah, I think you have a little bit of that. And then I think you also have a piece of, for the young women, there is a level of never having been rejected before because mom or
Yes.
dad,
gentle parenting, right?
Mom and
Right?
dad has always solved for
Yeah.
them to just ease into these situations. And so that is part of what I obviously am coaching clients on, is there is going to be, at some point in this process, you are going to be told no. And so we have to be resilient to what that looks like, and how you respond
Yes.
to that needs to definitely be how you are able to, turn around and pick yourself up and keep moving forward. Because if you can't, then this process is going to be really, really hard.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let's talk more about the work that you do with these kids. I think it's really fascinating to people. These days, could a young woman, feel like she's looking great and good at starting a conversation and show up at Rush Week and be okay? Or is the prep much more involved than that?
I think there are students out there that could certainly, if they are conversational and they feel like they kind of have their stuff together, I think you can show up to recruitment and definitely, know your stuff and be okay. The part that I think is hard is that there are some barriers to entrance for sure for some campuses. So if we're talking SEC, there are a lot of things that you sort of have to do before you can even get to the front door. So the registration process, the recommendation process, you need to have your resume. I will say the social media aspect is a large part nowadays of what these girls are expected and need to have kind of buttoned up before they can even kind of get their foot in the door. So that's a hard part that a lot of kids, what I have seen in the last 5 years, is they're not really paying attention to, or they're not really putting a lot of effort into, is their social media. And so when they decide to do recruitment, it's like, oh, shoot, now I need to kind of do this. Or mom and dad have
major selfie regret.
Yeah.
It seems like you can't do anything without a social media strategy.
Yes.
These days.
Yeah, a business, a general.
Not even podcasting.
Yeah.
So how far ahead of the recruitment process do you start your work? Ideally,
I mean, if I have an ideal candidate, we're working a year before recruitment starts. But yeah, if it's possible, only because, we want to try to get as much ahead of the game as possible. But if we can,
Right.
if we're just like jumping in and we just want to go, it's 6 months.
Okay. So that you can work on a shorter timeline.
We can. And I definitely have girls that, jump in with me at 3 months and we can get them there. It's not a problem. But I would definitely say
Right.
a year is great. That gives me enough time to kind of work with them to get them ready to go so that they can shine.
Is this a silly question, but who knows where they're going to school a year before they're going?
I think so, sometimes doesn't this happen sophomore year, or does it always happen freshman year?
It can happen sophomore year. That is becoming more and more of a trend. I'm having more and more clients that are doing it their sophomore year. So they're going through the recruitment process. Maybe freshman year didn't work out and they want to retry their sophomore year. So that's very common nowadays.
But isn't that like a mark against you?
Not really. Some kiddos, like I've had some clients that maybe are studying abroad their first 6 months and then they come back to campus, and then their second semester they're on campus. So it just kind of depends on the student.
I mean,
we live in Bronxville.
Sorry, we live in Bronxville, New York.
It's like a suburb of New York City, southern Westchester.
So let's say I'm a senior in high school, and I just found out last week I'm going to Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
So I love Wake Forest because Wake Forest does recruitment in January. So we had the
Good. How civilized.
So it's perfect. It's a great example.
Time. You're not doomed.
Right. So you on your own get to sort of get a feel for like what's going on campus and what,
It's fantastic.
what might be a fit for you.
Yes.
That's great.
So you have a whole semester to definitely, or a whole year to definitely, the semester, you get the whole semester to get your bearings straight, make sure your grades are, where they need to be, kind of get a feel for campus, meet people. You get to, we call it coffee dating. You get to coffee date, all the sorority girls. You get to go and check things out on campus. It's fantastic. So I definitely think for women that are going through recruitment in the spring, it definitely kind of helps them to sort of see the lay of the land before they jump in. Now, I will say it does create a little bit of extra work on them because that whole first semester, you have to be on your best behavior. Everybody's kind of watching everybody. So
that's great though.
It is nice
because it's like automatically regulating.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not going to go off the rails and put on 15 pounds. And I don't know.
Or,
do people do that anymore?
I don't think so.
Maybe.
Talk us a little bit more through the first steps of, what you do when you first meet with your clients.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about social media, of course. So kind of assessing kind of where they're at, what they need to work on, how to make those connections, because for like an SEC school, for example, a lot of that is happening over social media. So just helping them to kind of get their foot in the door, helping them to kind of be seen and know who to look for, who to connect with. And then once we kind of get through social media, again, depending on where they're going to school, the recommendation process may be part of what they need to look at. So social resume, helping them to pick out a headshot, helping them to actually put together their recommendation packets. So they actually have to put together a formal packet and get recommendation writers, people that will actually recommend them to the sorority to, again, put their name in front of the sorority to say, hey, this girl is great. She's somebody you should look at. And then helping them with the registration process. Nowadays, at most campuses, they have to do what they call a PNM video. So it's usually a 1 to 2 minute video about themselves, sort of answering some prompts and a question. So although most of these girls are very familiar with a TikTok and probably doing some sort of social media, the video seems to be a hang up for them. It really seems to be a place where
it's hard.
It is really hard for them
to really put yourself out there.
And that is
in a natural way.
Yeah, exactly.
And to come across, like you said, authentic, natural, confident is a really hard thing to come across on video.
But not too confident.
But not too confident.
Like not arrogant and
yes.
braggy, right?
So the video is a huge piece. And then, of course, getting them prepped and ready for the actual process of recruitment. So going through the rounds, coaching them on the conversations, helping them pick out the outfits. It's just a lot of, like you said, helping them to prepare for what life is going to throw at them once they're going to be ready no matter what. If they decide to go through the recruitment process or go for a job interview, they're going to be totally prepared.
I'm just so curious about the do's and don'ts across every, category of this process. So like, social media, I think we can kind of guess what the do's and don'ts are, but like social media do's and don'ts, wardrobe do's and don'ts, conversation do's and don'ts, video do's and don'ts. Like you touched on it a little bit, but like let's just like get into it. Like wardrobe. Let's start with wardrobe.
So wardrobe, the biggest don't, I would say, is girls sometimes don't think through that they might be sitting, they might have to walk upstairs. So oftentimes the malfunction of the wardrobe, so something too short, they wear maybe something strapless and they're constantly tugging and pulling. They don't think through undergarments. I have been on a campus where it started raining.
Again, life lessons.
Life lessons. I'm like, that was me last night.
I was actually at a recruitment on a college campus and it started raining in a round. and there were a number of women in white dresses, bless their hearts. So they did not look at the weather
Bless
forecast.
their hearts.
They did not look at the weather forecast, and they were all in white
my
dresses.
gosh.
And the sororities were very sweet and brought them towels. And so for the rest of the round, they were wearing towels around themselves because
Which
they
is
were
kind of funny,
but also kind of sad because, you know,
but a mark against them, you think?
I don't think a mark against them. I just kind of went poor planning, you know, just
Yeah, and they
Like,
weren't putting
look at the weather
Look at the
forecast.
weather
and they just
forecast.
were more they were probably distracted by the
Distracted
circumstances
and embarrassed and worried.
and that brought out certain parts of
Yes.
them. They
Yeah.
weren't shining. They weren't
They
like
couldn't be
putting their best foot
confident.
forward.
Themselves.
Yeah.
they couldn't
Right.
focus on the conversation. I would have been like
Right.
very like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm, you know,
Right.
it's just not great. So things like that, girls nowadays cannot walk in high heels. I don't know what's happening in the world, but
I've gotten worse at it too. I don't know.
what's happening.
Yeah, because they grow up in like sneakers and Uggs.
I guess,
Right.
but let's practice walking in our shoes.
They need like a catwalk.
Yeah, agreed.
Conference.
Let's practice walking in our shoes.
A lot of fainting happens in recruitment. A lot of girls passing out, which is also embarrassing. I always feel
Because
bad.
they're not eating.
They're not
Yeah.
eating. They're not drinking. So we need to eat and drink. So these are
important.
Those are things that are really important.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are the wardrobe things I would say I see the most on campuses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's great. So
Social
like basically
media?
dress like comfortably, and for walking, for any like check the weather, you know, you want to be comfortable. You want to basically obviously be appropriate, but in something that you feel comfortable in that is not going to take your attention away or the attention of the person interviewing.
You want to look great in an appropriate way.
and not have anything that you're wearing or anything about your appearance be taking the attention away from you, who you are, and coming through.
Right. And I think too,
Okay.
appropriate to the culture of the campus. I see sometimes when students are on particular campuses, because you have students coming from all over the country. So if you're a student from, let's just say I had a client, she was from California and she was going to a campus that was very Southern. So I was coaching her on what a Southern campus would be wearing versus what she would probably wear on a normal, what she considered dressing up was not what they would be wearing. So you kind of have to think through, what is that?
So
That's an important point.
What did you tell her?
So I just told her what you consider dressing up is not what they consider dressing up. So we
Right,
have
but what
to
did you
elevate
tell
it.
about
We have to elevate
their
it 2
expectations?
times more than what she thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty dressy.
It's going to be pretty dressy compared to what you think. And I do think too, looking at previous recruitment, like you can go on to any of the recruitment websites, you can go on the Instagrams, you can go on, any of them, and you can kind of see what girls are wearing for that particular campus. And you can tell pretty easily. You can also kind of guess what the brands are and all of that. So I always recommend, like, if you can sort of stick with the culture of that campus, you're going to be probably fine. But if you go too outside, again, you don't want to be an outlier so much so that it makes you stick out too much.
All right. Well, what about the do's and don'ts of
social media.
social media?
This is always fun. Okay, so do's, I think that students or girls particularly are missing is that they do not do a great job of promoting themselves for what they are passionate or interested in. So they are great about posting homecoming and prom and vacation pictures. Like, those are all fun things that we're all doing on a regular basis. But if you are a passionate person, like I was talking to a girl today, she loves fashion. And I was like, I see nothing on your social media that tells me you're into fashion. Like, I see that you've gone on some really cool vacations. I see that you have really great friends that you've gone to prom with, but I see nothing about fashion. So it needs to tell a story. And I think that's what's hard about social media is these girls are so used to they don't want to post about certain things. Like, they don't want to put their family on their Instagram, which is fine. But that's what the sororities are looking for, is they want to get to know them before they walk through the door. And so the don'ts would be, if they have too many selfies. So if they're only posting Now, if you're on vacation and you have, bikini photos are fine. I don't have a problem with bikini photos, but if every other picture on your social grid is a bikini photo, I'm going to question, are you really into yourself, or do you have a group of friends
Right.
that you hang out with on the regular? So there's some things like that. If they have a lot of pictures with just them and their boyfriend, again, we're going to be asking, do they have a friend group, or do they just spend a lot of time with the boyfriend? Sororities are also looking for inappropriate things, like if they have, the red Solo cups, if there's a lot of inappropriate things, people commenting, they do go down the rabbit hole of looking at who's commenting on what people are commenting. They look at the tagged
Wow.
photos. They do look at, when they're looking at their TikToks, they are looking at the explicit lyrics, things like that girls sometimes
Ooh.
just don't even think about. And so depending on the campus, again, if it's a very conservative campus, they're not going to like that. They're not going to want to recruit someone who repeatedly has stuff like that on their social media.
Are there ways to clean up your
Yeah, I was
social
just going to
media?
say, forgive my ignorance. Can you just like go through and delete
Yes,
what you don't want
100%.
there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I think too, something that girls don't realize is just, and I always do this when I'm speaking to groups and moms kind of always give their daughters the side eye, is, you are sort of associated with people. So if there is kind of like a bad apple in your group, the girl that has the bad reputation, you want to definitely start limiting your association with that person, because if they're also going to that university and that sorority is getting information about that young woman, and they're not planning to extend an invitation to her, but they see you in every photo with her, that could also hurt your reputation with her as well. So
Wow.
there's just
It's rough out there.
It's really rough. I mean, I don't know how I ever gotten into a sorority. I mean, I was it's not for the weak. That's for darn sure. But I mean, conversation do's and don'ts. I mean, it's like a landmine out there.
Well, I definitely think this is the area where most girls spend the least amount of time prepping. And this is where they need to spend the most time prepping. And it's not something where you necessarily have to be perfect, because it's really just about being able to connect with people, right? So we need to be able to have a natural conversation with each other. We need to be able to feel like I got to know you, you got to know me. And at the end of the conversation, do I like you? Yeah, you seem great. So that's all we're trying to do. But if at the end of the conversation, you were a little awkward, or you're a little shy, or you didn't give me enough, that's where the sororities are like, okay, I'm moving on, So
Right.
the don'ts, I would say, are the girls that come in and are immediately asking about, what fraternities are you pairing with? Do you have a boyfriend? And is he in a fraternity? What type of social events are y'all doing? So the girls that immediately are coming in and just kind of trying to run down the list of, how is this going to benefit me? Those are the don'ts. I think, the red flags sometimes for the sororities could also be the girl that's asking a lot of questions about what's the financial obligation? Am I going to be able to afford it? I think, it's fair to ask about the financials, because some people do have to pay for the sorority on their own. They have to work and they have to cover that cost. And that's fair. I think, those are good questions to ask on the front end. But if that's the only thing she keeps talking about, that can really hurt a PNM, a potential new member who's trying to get into the sorority. So I think those sometimes can be, they say, kind of the money or the bucks, or kind of something you don't want to bring up. I'm not opposed to young women bringing up the Bible or kind of the religion part. I think that's dependent on, your personal, if that's important to you, I think you should be upfront about that. If that's something you're looking for and you're wanting that in college, I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing. I think that's something that students, should be able to talk about. I think the other thing that sometimes can kind of give students a bad rap if they bring it up in conversation is just having kind of a negative attitude. So if they come in and they're kind of like, oh, well, I heard this about this sorority, or I heard this is kind of not such a great group to join, or I heard that this is really not fun, or I heard this, like sometimes they'll hear rumors outside before they come into a party, like, oh, I heard such and such is on social probation. What does that mean? So there's just kind of things that sort of circulate during the recruitment week that they'll bring into the conversations unknowingly to the girls that they're talking to. And they're just trying to make conversation, but can negatively impact the girl that they're talking to.
At the expense of someone else, like in a, like a gossipy. Yeah. You never want to be talking at the expense of someone else, whether it's in the sorority or not. Which is just like, these are just really valuable life things. I'm getting a lot from this.
The conversation remains challenging for a lot of people.
It is.
Well, and I'll tell you a funny story. I have literally been in a recruitment party where a young woman came in and she just got very comfortable with the recruiter that she was talking to. And all of a sudden just started cussing. Like she just started like kind of, she got comfortable, which was fine. She just felt like she could just have like a very, comfortable conversation.
But now we know she's a big cusser.
She's a big cusser, which is probably fine.
You big fat cusser.
It was not the setting to be doing that in. And so the woman that she was talking to, she didn't really know how to respond to it. So after the party was over, she said, she goes, I didn't even know how to respond once that started happening. So it just can be off-putting for people. And I think sometimes girls they don't even realize they're doing it sometimes, obviously.
No, everything you're describing, is social cues and but for real, that's all a part of executive function, which is all a part of the certain part of the brain that's not developed until your mid-20s. If that. Some people took a little longer, but I just find like I would have really liked to know you at this time in life, because I was one of those people, and I still am not great at social cues, but I think about everything you're saying and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's hard. It's hard. Really hard.
They're
and
young.
If you don't have like a mother and a father, like really in strong family ethos at home, teaching you this stuff and like drilling it into your brain, it just doesn't come naturally to everybody. And if you don't have the training, if it doesn't come naturally to you and you don't have the training to offset that, you can really be SOL here. I don't want to cuss in front of you, but God,
no. We taught you nothing.
No, I think it's like I think if people at this age just kind of were told, hey, this is not a good look, that would have been really helpful to me.
Well, and I'll be honest, this generation, the biggest factor of why they're not good at the face-to-face interaction is because of the phone.
Technology.
They are
the
so
thumbs.
great at texting. They're great at doing all of the things, but they are not great at making this connection. And so because of that, it is 90% of how they're selected to get into the sorority. And so if you can't overcome that part of it, it becomes very difficult. And peer-to-peer decisions are being made based on that interaction. And so it's, half the time when girls are crying and very upset about why they weren't getting selected to go back to a sorority, it's very difficult to explain to them. It's probably because of the way that conversation went versus it wasn't because of what you were wearing. It's not because of the way you look. It's merely because of how you interacted with them.
Right. The conversations are where it's a make or break situation. Have you ever met with a client and thought, you know what? Or a potential client, this kid is not cut out for this process?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you ever fire clients before they have a chance to hire you?
Yes.
Well, I can tell you're a good person, so I can just imagine that you would sometimes be like, you know what, this is not going to work out. So let's stop it here.
Yeah, I have had an instance or two where I have told people, I don't think I'm going to be the best resource for you.
Oh my
let
gosh.
me send you some other resources that will be a better fit for you. I think too, I always try to preface, I want to make sure that we are going to be able to work well together. I have to be able to give you feedback and you have to be able to follow the feedback, right? So we have to be able to be on the same page, as especially for the girls. You know, they have to be able to follow the instructions. They have to be able to hear what I'm saying and be on the same page.
Otherwise, it's a waste of everyone's
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So your success rate can't be 100%.
Well, I used to be, and now, you know,
You're like, there was that one girl.
That one girl, and that's where you
I
developed the
said it
policy
was,
that
and then, you know, it went downhill from there.
you don't
Yeah.
accept people.
No, I think.
Well, okay. So what about that? So whatever happened recently with your falling success rate, what happens? I mean, it doesn't work out. Do you try again next year?
Yeah.
Is it a common enough thing where, like, I mean, just based on numbers alone, like like a lot of people are not going to get bids. How do you prepare them for the rejection?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an honest person. I upfront say there is no guarantee in what I provide, right? I'm just preparing you for the process. I'm helping you to understand what it looks like and helping you to understand all the things you need. But I do work very hard to make sure all of my clients keep moving forward in whatever that journey is. It's not, I think for most people, it would be great if it was a straight path and you did the formal recruitment process and you got a bid. But that's just not the reality of how recruitment works for many sororities these days. I mean, sororities, you can do formal recruitment and you can get a bid. You can also do the continuous open bidding process. So that happens after formal recruitment. You can join as a sophomore nowadays. You can join even as a junior. So there's a number of different ways to be a part of the sorority.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily one size fits all now. And I try to, you know, help the girls see, okay, if it didn't work this way, let's try a different way and see if that can go better for you. And honestly, sometimes for some girls, the informal process works a lot better because they aren't having to do, you know, it's not a trick and pony kind of show. And so it's a little bit easier to find the people that you want to be with.
Yeah.
I have learned so much.
Me too,
And
Leslie. Thank you.
I think
so
you're actually
much.
really, I mean, I came into this a little skeptical. But I think that you're doing like a really great thing.
Important work.
Important work.
Thank y'all.
Do you have just 2 minutes for a quick lightning round? We just
Sure.
have a couple
Love
fun
it.
questions for you about being a mom. Okay. Is there something you do just for you? And when you're doing it, you can forget all your responsibilities as a mom, as the owner of this company,
Yes.
even if it's just for a little bit of time?
Yes. I played Mahjong.
So do,
Yay.
we do too.
We just started.
Love it.
It's so great.
It's so fun. I
Yeah.
have some gals in the neighborhood I play with, and we have so much fun.
And it's
true.
so true. You have to concentrate. So you forget
yeah.
everything else. The time
Yeah.
just flies
We don't
by.
talk about
It's so
anything
great.
kid or work related. We just play and have
Because
fun.
if you do, you lose you just lose track.
It's fun.
What is the thing that you're laziest about as a parent?
Bedtime for sure.
Yeah, with 4, I guess it's tough. What's the thing that you're most vigilant about?
Ooh, probably washing hands. I'm kind of crazy about germs.
And if you could go back in time and give your brand new mom self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, yes. I think about this often. Just play with them more.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so true.
just play.
Just play.
That's all.
I was doing a lot of other things instead of playing with them, you know, like I was.
Yes.
That
I
is
know.
mine
Like going
too.
to the baby music class. Like we didn't need a baby
I
music class.
didn't
They
need
don't
to be
need that.
taking them to, yeah, I was doing a lot of other things, but I should have just been playing. Like I think of so many times I was like cleaning, doing laundry.
Yeah.
Like who cares?
Just play.
Just play with them.
I have one real quick last question, actually. You have this kind of special window into, you know, the college student of today, like the 18-year-olds and those years. Is there, from what you're learning about those kids, is there any way that it's impacting how you're parenting your own kids?
100%.
Like you mentioned how it worries you how all these
great
kids just stare
question.
at their phones. Like you have an unusual perspective on what's ahead for all of us.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
daughter does not have a phone. And she probably won't get a phone for a little while.
How old is she?
She's 13,
Okay.
going into 8th grade. She probably won't get social media for a while. And that's just because of what I see from these girls.
Yeah.
And I do think and I talk to her a lot. She overhears me when I'm coaching clients. And I put her in a lot of situations where she has to interact with people face to face. And I do that to my boys. I do that to her because I think it is such a skill set that we just don't force them in these opportunities. I mean, for example, yesterday we had, I had a client and her mom actually come over to my house, and I make my boys come down, shake their hands, look them in the eyes, introduce themselves. I feel like people don't have that skill set anymore, and it's a lost art. And so I really do try to hone in on what are important skills that you need to know as an adult, like.
Yeah. I think everything you're saying is about like human to human connection, right? And what is going to help, like what is going to foster connection between you and another person. And that starts with putting your hand out, and looking at someone in the eye and saying, you matter enough for me to be like connecting to, like, my vision to connect to your vision and my hand to connect it, like all of that. It's like those are the building blocks, and then the next layer is how you're presenting yourself, like whether it's your clothing or how you're the questions that you're asking someone and how you're attending, right? It's like attendance.
Yeah.
Attendance to the moment, attendance to them. And I agree with you. It's like not something that a robot is ever gonna learn how to do.
Right.
I think.
Well, and I think that we are so unaware sometimes of like what is happening. Like we're so right here. And in fact, my parting words every day with my kids is look for someone around you who doesn't have a friend, because I want them to find somebody who's sitting on the playground who needs a friend, because there is somebody who is around you who isn't talking to somebody. There's always somebody who needs somebody else to engage with them. It's a known thing. When you just look around, there is always somebody who doesn't have someone else. And we do a great job of kind of, having these cliques and doing all these things. But I just find that a lot of these girls want to belong to these organizations, and they want to belong because they are looking for friends to find that smaller community, because they are coming to a place that is very large and very scary, and they don't know how they're going to fit into it. And they don't want to be sitting alone at the dining hall by themselves. And so you just got to look around and find somebody else to talk to. And that's the skill set we're trying to teach them. So,
yeah. Thank you so much
yeah.
for being here with us and sharing all this.
Yes.
Really great insight into so much more, I think, than just sorority rush in the process, although that is incredibly important and central to your work, but it's really goes above and beyond all that. So thank you. Yeah. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
Thank you, Leslie.
I knew this was going to be juicy. But I thought it was going to be juicy. Like, I didn't think I was really going to be like,
right,
come away expanded.
We thought we were kind of going to pull back the curtain on like a sexy world
and a sexy,
and like
curious,
know the secrets.
Yeah.
but
It was it was more substantial than I thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
not just like, don't, put your tits away in the, party in the
Milano.
sorry.
He would have been
Steve, I would
fired
have
from the sorority cocktail
I would
party.
have been kicked off the island. No, but I thought it was just going to be more of that, like, shoulders back and, dress, the four finger rule and for skirts. And, it was way more substantial than I initially gave credit for.
Yeah. And I mean, I would be thrilled to have my kids be coached
Totally.
by someone like her, just even on entering college.
Or just existing as like a
Yeah.
human in this world.
Right. This is how to move through the world ahead of you over the next few years.
I cannot.
So wait, what was I don't know enough about your own sorority experience. As you know, I didn't have one.
Okay. So, so Princeton, did not recognize any Greek life, but there were sororities and fraternities, nationally recognized by the Greek organizations, but not by the university. So we didn't have like houses, for example, because at Princeton, the eating clubs were and are the big deal. Like that's the big kind of cultural shape and identifier. Yeah. So because of that, sororities and the Greek life just isn't like, it's not like an SEC school, and there aren't even a lot. Like I think there were 4 sororities when I was there: Pi Phi, Theta, Tri Delt, and Kappa Gamma. Anyway, and each one had their different like vibes. And I and you can get bids from anyone. So you can get 4 bids, you can get no bids, you can get 1 bid. And I do think that Theta did not accept me, which is okay, but Pi Phi did. And that was the one that I felt like was the right fit for me. And it was great. It was really just like Leslie was saying, it was very
A community.
Yes, it was a community and like a just really like, here we are. We're going to, it's an not instant, but it was exciting.
We're in it together.
It was exciting to be like, to belong to something.
Yeah.
Because you can't join the eating club until you're a junior or sophomore, and then you can't eat there until you're a junior. So it was just really exciting. It was intoxicating and fun.
Yeah.
And, so, and you didn't have anything. Do you kind of wish there was some
I do wish
something other than bars?
I honestly see that kids showing up at college need a little something to help them form community.
Right. Like a social structure.
Yeah. And of course there were activities and clubs at Georgetown, and I made dear friends and, we lived together in our like own form of a sorority house, but just the organized social stuff was extremely lacking.
Like you had we're in a sorority, you had something to do, like because you were in this thing.
Right. Together with close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And instead it was like Wednesday night, that's the night we go to this bar. Thursday night, that's the night we go to this bar. Like, I'm not exaggerating.
And that was like freshman year, sophomore year.
Yeah.
Like, was there more of a senior bar or a junior bar, or like, were there any more identifying factors?
I remember it as like a day of the week thing.
Okay.
It was like, see you champs later. It's Thursday.
And then there was, what day of the week was Martini Massacre?
Oh, that was a Saturday.
And what?
I'm not talking about that on this podcast.
Sorry. All right. Moving on.
Listeners, we have a little bit of news for you. We're going to take a pause on the pod.
A pod pause. Yeah. We're taking a pod pause.
Because we need a little time to work on it some more, and we hope make it better. One of the things we want to do is meet you more where you are, wherever that is in the parenting journey. So if you could take a second and look at the notes for this episode, we have a brief survey there. We'd love to hear from you on topics that interest you, experts that you might want to hear from, and we'll be working hard to bring you another group of episodes somewhere down the line.
Yeah. I mean, I also think it's like, this is like it's a lot of work and a lot
Yeah.
of time and a lot of resources. And I think we're going to maybe explore and do some other creative things in the meantime as
Yeah.
well. So we're excited to keep you posted on all of the above.
And we're always grateful, so grateful that you
Obviously.
listen and support us. So thank you.
Always grateful. And keep tuned or stay tuned for updates on Instagram. And yeah, all right. Thanks for listening with us and joining us on this adventure.